schedule. It's well known that nonprofit attorneys are stressed out beyond belief. Like, you kind of can go to events, and I've seen it personally. Like, some other friends of mine that, maybe one works at the prosecutor's office or whatever, we'll go out and we'll meet people, and you can kind of tell who is a nonprofit, attorney. Um, they just, I mean, everybody's stressed as a lawyer, but they seem to be extremely stressed.
It's the sheer amount of items coming at you in so little time with very quick deadlines could is enough to burn out an attorney. Like nonprofit attorneys burn out pretty quickly if they do not know how to balance work and life. They can burn out really fast. Um, that is just a skill that you have to develop over time. When you get off of work, you have to be off of work. Now, I know most of us do it. Like we get home and we start scrolling through emails, and you feel like I need to respond to this email, or I'll forget, or what have you. Sometimes you just have to turn it off. But yeah, it can be overwhelming. Um, a lot of times you may not feel appreciated because you're fighting so many battles all at the same time. So again, like for a nonprofit, you are dealing with clients who are going through some sort of trauma in their life. They're being sued by a debt collection, or which if they get sued and a judgment is placed on their credit, they can get garnished every 2 weeks. So out of their wages, they're losing up to 25% of their income. That means that they have to switch around money to pay rent, utilities, car, daycare, food, medical expenses. So all they have to switch around that. So in one of those areas, something's going to fail. So now their housing is unstable. Maybe they may not have electricity all the time. So you're dealing with clients who are facing stuff like that. So they may not always be nice to you. So you're going to get the brunt of all of their frustration with the court system, with their landlord, or whatever is going on in their life. And then the court system in and of itself can be frustrating. Um,
How so?
just,
Where do you begin?
I mean, okay, if the pandemic brought out the technology gap, so our clients all pretty much low income or facing some financial hardship don't may not have access to the best of technology, don't have access to internet all the time, so they can't scan, they can't email, they can't print out documents. With the court closed, they have no access to the court at all. um, with the city not being on MDEC, we have to go down personally to the clerk's office,
Yeah.
um, give like a reason as to why we have to see the clerk to get the paper copies. Or because, again, they're not on MDEC and we can't do electronic files, they set up these ad hoc systems where you send an email. These emails get lost, they get deleted, files get misplaced, people are in and out, people are sick, people are quitting. It's a huge transition that's frustrating.
Right.
Um, just like, antiquated record keeping can be frustrating. Um, Antiquated ways of just sending files to the court can be frustrating because you send like just a regular mail to the thing. Like our mailing system is now messed up. So we can't even depend on USPS like we used to anymore.
Right.
So it's just sending a basic letter can be frustrating at times. Um, so yeah, I do hope that the city moves quickly to MDEC. That would make a lot of people's lives easier.
Well, we're the last ones, right?
Yes.
Prince George's is now MDEC. Montgomery County is now MDEC.
Yes.
So it'll
And
happen, I think, maybe.
like the next 10 years.
Next 10 years. Yeah. Well, going back to the stress, how have you learned to manage the stress with being an attorney, especially a nonprofit attorney?
Yeah. So this interesting is that I've had like I when I think about it, I've had like these boundaries in place for a long time because like when I think about it, I've actually been doing like service work for a very long time. So like even in high school, I was working for the police department in their photo lab.
Mm.
And so it's just like, how do you separate seeing these images of like
Yeah.
death and like, how do you separate that and not take that home? Well, work is work, home is home, and you don't want to commingle it. Like you can commingle it a bit, of course. Like when you become an attorney, that actually becomes a part of your identity, but you don't take the work at home. So like when you're with your family, be present with your family
Hmm.
because um, you thinking about that client that can wait until Monday. If the client is being intrusive to intrude on your family time, you don't want that person as a client
Hmm.
because if they don't respect like your boundaries, I don't think you want to deal with
Right.
that. Yeah, so it's just like learning what's important to you outside of work and then making that the focus.
Okay. So, I mean, just generally across the legal profession, this is a huge issue, right? Like, I
Yes.
mean, um, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I know that the rates of depression, substance abuse, all this kind of alcoholism, right?
Yes.
They're high, ridiculously high, and the dropout rate. People talk about law school dropout rate and law school. Come on, I mean, whatever it is, what it is. But the real dropout rate is like when people actually become practicing attorneys,
Mm-hmm.
and they realize like, oh, it's not like what TV showed it would be.
Yes.
You know, how? So I guess people are coping with the stress in negative ways many of the times. Um, I guess would you be able to shed some light on like I guess positive ways to?
Oh,
I mean, besides the boundaries, like what else do you do?
so me personally, I like to travel. So I like going to different cities, just exploring what different cities has or different countries. Um, Wellness. I know a lot of people go exercising. I don't know, find something that makes you happy. I like to swim. I like to draw. Um, these things don't change. Like history is a favorite thing, so museums, of course. Um, but yeah, you have to find things that make you happy. Like I know for a lot of the attorneys that are feeling like the negative emotions, one, well, I feel like we have a profession that recognizes this a lot. And so many of the bar associations offer programs for you to go speak to someone. There are support groups that um, the bar associations have. Like I was at a conference in Seattle for consumer law, and every morning there was literally a support group for those experiencing certain substance issues
Hmm.
that they could go to. Um, every morning beginning of the conference. So they can have someone to talk to you. It may not have been the same support group that you had back in your hometown, but it was available to you.
Yeah.
So there is stuff available to you to try to help. You just have to make the steps toward it.
The legal profession is often a very conservative profession, and
Right.
people that have these issues and often need to like go out there and actually take advantage of these things. I feel like a lot of attorneys they just don't. You know.
So I think one thing that do look I do see how the legal profession is modernizing in that way. So like our I don't want to say old, but like the old conservative way of how the legal profession is changing. Um, the people who used to make the decisions are no longer making the decisions, or they've hired, younger people that can be like, hey, this is not working because look at what happened to, I don't know, Richard.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, um, so this is how we need to support them. I think I've just creating wellness amongst the employees at your office or stuff like that can be one step into a positive direction. And no, I see a lot of law firms are like focusing on work life balance. Like they say it like, guys, work life balance, right? But there are a lot of firms now actually making steps toward it. So it'll be like, okay, instead of, Fridays, casual Fridays, but it'll be like, oh no, so like Thursday and Friday, we're going to cancel all meetings. So you can just go home and relax,
Hmm.
or you can, get whatever you need to get done at work. so you don't have outside influences working against you or whatever. Like I know Susan will schedule like on her calendars like the office is closed,
Hmm.
so like whatever files you need to put upload in the legal server, upload it. You can clean out your office and then you can just go home.